Some things simply don't deserve a movie. No one asked for a Battleship movie, but we got it anyway. No one asked for an Emoji movie, but we got it anyway. No one asked for a Playmobil movie either, but we got that anyway. So, what pops into your mind when you look at this? Is it the cute, childish novelty? The hypnotic, kinetic motion? Or is it the deep, endless cinematic potential? Would you agree that this item is bursting at the seams in terms of its storytelling versatility? No? How about this one? The unfortunate reality is that movies are often made with a profit motive in mind, and only a profit motive in mind. And when you gather the producer of Food Fight and the director of Beauty and the Beast, wait, what? It appears this is what the result is. Bobbleheads the movie at first glance appears to be yet another in the string of copycats clearly chasing the success of the Lego movie. In execution though, the end result is more like Toy Story, except imagine a Toy Story where the entire plot takes place in one location, and instead of miscellaneous toys, it's a full-throttle colossal bobble ensemble. The biggest, most obvious problem with this movie starts at a simple, extremely simple, foundational level. It's a bad idea to make a story based on such a ridiculous premise. Duh. There is only one reason you would even approach a project like this. When you're making an animated movie, a hugely important aspect of the appeal is that of the character design. When it's poorly conceived or repulsive to look at, you're harming your chances before you even get a moment to engage with anything of substance.
Hey Bubbles, how's it going?
It doesn't take a genius to tell you why this, for example, is an atrocious design for a main character of your story, even with the bobblehead restriction put to one side. What was the thought process behind this half anime, half robot getup? Neither anime nor cyborgs are particularly relevant to what happens in the story, and when contrasted to the skater girl and baseball guy, almost seems to have been picked at random. So with the bobblehead restriction taken back from the side, the bobblehead restriction is the most moronic but most notable aspect behind the creative choices bestowed before us with this movie. Every scene, and I mean every scene, that contains the bobbleheads
That's nasty.
is packed to the brim with realistic bobbing action. A necessity when following through on a concept so dim, the hook of the movie is that the main characters' heads bounce around in ways that they can't control. It's genuinely so egregious that the movie has to accommodate extra screen time, extra frames, to show off the bobbling. While I wouldn't quite call the look of the film repulsive, perhaps sterile, dated, or clinical would better describe it. At the very least, there are some acceptable textures, effects, and animation that admittedly would be a better fit if it was playing on a daytime kids TV channel. This project curiously touts headlines that this is the first movie to be completed remotely on Microsoft Azure using NVIDIA GPUs, an interesting development for industry insiders maximizing workflow during a pandemic, but pretty telling that that's the most relevant public information and discourse that exists about this movie. Well, that's if we choose to ignore Cher's Twitter, that is. A random Twitter user with a Rayman raving rabbit as their profile picture tagged Cher in a biting tweet condemning her for featuring in this movie. At Cher, I enjoy you as an entertainer. In 70s you had an awesome body like my ex-wife. I love your music and songs. Believe me, I'd buy your Time Life collection 10 times over, but I'm so disappointed in Bobbleheads. No music, just boredom. No discernible storyline, boring. I think most of us can agree that this tweet probably didn't warrant any sort of response or justification. But we got it anyway. Babe, I did my part. I was actor. I had no control over what they did to film, but I'm so sorry. In animation I've done You're Alone in Booth, Scooby Special, Did I think that's adorable? Again, I'm so sorry. And it didn't even end there. Ari Bobblehead film, I'm sorry you're upset. I've done my best to make you happy, laugh, cry, be entertained. I think you'll love Scooby. Hopefully the Scooby special was enough to win the raving rabbit back over. However, I'm just realizing that I'm ever so slightly ahead of myself. Cher is the hugely popular singer who rose to fame in the 60s. I only mention this because I assume most of you watching are barely old enough to drive, let alone understand an offhand reference to Cher. The powers that be behind the production of this movie clearly have a deep affection for her, because she is effectively the Gandalf of the Bobbleheads universe. In fact, the feeling of elation when Cher's disco drone descends from the heavens and saves this movie from complete boredom is not something to be understated.
Here we go, come on, Cher, save this movie.
Hey Bubbles. Bubbles, how's it going?
I think I finally lost it. By the time the credits come around and the bubbles are dancing around Cher in unison, I'd pretty much lost all contact with reality and became fully damaged for this one. The writing is obviously about what you'd expect. The best pun in the movie is bobblehead start. I'm gonna have a bobblehead start.
Not fair. You got a bobblehead start.
Yeah. Although I have to admit, I wasn't expecting the unnecessary commitment to bobblehead world building to be so prevalent.
Breaking the bubble creed?
Yeah, we gotta talk about the creed.
With scenes explaining that the bobbleheads are aware that they are based on real creatures, which they refer to as protos.
Whose prototype is a cheetah?
At least I got a proto, and she's real, with real skills.
A bizarre choice of word that seems to indicate that the bobbleheads believe that bobbleheads are the next step in human evolution. On top of this, the Bobblehead Council is mentioned a couple of times. You never directly see it, but Cher does mention that she sits upon said council and acts as an ambassador to communicate the ultimate message of this movie, which is,
The bubble creed is simple. Bubbles, bubble, and bring joy.
Yep, I guess it's that. There are some fairly notable voice actors involved, but as Cher said herself, it's not their fault this film is stupid. Luke Wilson stars as a human character who wants to steal the valuable bobbleheads from his brother. Antics ensue. Nothing particularly happens for large chunks of the runtime, whether it be wasted on boring, uninteresting action scenes for babies, a romance subplot for babies, and a twist where the cat bobblehead discovers that he's worth a lot of money when he thought he was just a common bobble. The only loose bit of commentary that is buried deep within the folds, and even then, rings upon deaf ears because the righteous motivations of the main characters are the inverse of the crew of ex-Disney film talent that made this movie. Clearly, no one cared about this. I mean, just look at this. There is a creepiness factor here that the film even embraces at points. Seeing as we're operating under Toy Story rules, it's shown to us that the bobbles have the capacity to interfere with human lives and manipulate the outcome, including using their deranged form to torment the intruders. I could never quite get over any moment a character would randomly stretch or get their head stuck. Such visceral imagery is a bold choice for a movie designed for babies. There is no way to cobble the Bobblehead movie. It makes my mind hobble like a family squabble, and this footage should definitely leave you with a wobble. So where does this cavity rank on the search for the worst list? Well, it's nowhere near as bad as Video Prinquedo or anything on that level, but I would say this is worse than the Emoji Movie, but not as bad as the Oogie Loves. I gotta say, I'm enjoying how absurdly granular this list is getting. In a strange way, the absence of narrative potential was an opportunity for total creative freedom. The problem is when you have no creativity to give, or the budget or talent to work with.
You are so cray-cray.
So when you make a movie based on bobbleheads and nothing else, you have a movie based on bobbleheads and nothing else. And even though no one wanted this, no one, we still got it anyway. Thanks for watching, everyone. Next up should be I Hate Superhero Movies 2020, which should be good because it's just a bunch of shite. Listen to Jar Media and Sardonicast. I'll see you next time. Bye.